Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our creative peer-to-peer campaigns that attract and engage donors webinar. Peer-to-peer campaigns are great to increase your nonprofit's visibility, bring in new donors, and significantly boost donations. Peer-to-peer fundraising is most often used for athletic-oriented events like run walks and with good reason. It's exciting to rally volunteer fundraisers around a physical challenge, but peer-to-peer fundraising doesn't need to be confined to athletic events. There are many unique ways you can leverage fundraising ambassadors for your cause, and today's webinar is going to show you how. And we've got lots of fun and creative ideas to introduce you to. Plus, we'll also hear from our nonprofit guest on the creative peer-to-peer campaign they ran for the first time and raised nearly double their fundraising goal. Now, before we get started, please know we welcome your participation and are here to answer your questions. So be sure to submit them into the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel. We have fundraising experts standing by behind the scenes to answer questions during the webinar, and at the end, we'll hold an open Q&A session with our presenters for additional questions. Now, we hope you'll be really inspired today and motivated by today's presentation. And as a quick reminder, we will be sending out the recording and the slides to all our registrants afterwards. Now, today's webinar is brought to you by MobileCause, and MobileCause understands the everyday challenges nonprofits face, constantly confronted with limited resources, yet still expected to expand your impact. You shouldn't have to face these challenges alone, and that's why MobileCause offers more than comprehensive online and event fundraising software. We also provide one-on-one strategy from dedicated fundraising specialists and have the industry's best support team ready to provide assistance 24/7, so it's there when you need it most. MobileCause has become the trusted fundraising partner for nonprofits looking to scale their fundraising quickly and efficiently without paying any transaction fees. At MobileCause, we are just as committed to your cause as you are, and together we can grow your nonprofit like never before. Now, let me introduce you to today's terrific presenters. First, we have Wyatt Lee, who has been the Vice President of the Mars Planet Foundation since the organization's inception in 2009. He is responsible for creating and maintaining their website, social media presence, and MobileCause platform. He has been instrumental in organizing their annual golf outing, which, prior to 2020, was their major annual fundraiser. Working closely with a number of committees, he helps continue to grow their reach through social media and community fundraising efforts. Wyatt is married with 3 daughters and works in the industrial plant space in the Atlantic region. Corey Blake is a digital fundraising strategist with MobileCause, where he works one-on-one with nonprofits to maximize their fundraising campaign success. He creates and sets up campaigns, provides fundraising and donor engagement strategies, and creates supportive communication and promotional tools. Corey's work has enabled hundreds of MobileCause customers to successfully accelerate and increase their fundraising and engagement efforts. Now, I'm Scott Couchman. I'm the training manager at MobileCause, and today's agenda is a fun one, full of inspiring ideas and useful takeaways for setting up and running a creative peer-to-peer campaign. First, we'll hear from Corey Blake on setting up your peer-to-peer campaign, plus a whole host of exciting peer-to-peer ideas used by MobileCause clients to help them raise more. And then Wyatt will share his experience with the Mars Planet Foundation, planning, promoting, and executing their unique peer-to-peer campaign that helped them double their results from their previous spring fundraiser. All right, before we begin discussing creative peer-to-peer campaigns that attract and engage donors, we do have a quick poll question for everyone. So let me go ahead and launch this poll here. There we go. It should be going. Sometimes it takes a few seconds here, so I'll go ahead and read the question here. So, are you planning a peer-to-peer fundraiser in 2021? And the choices are yes, and it's pretty creative. Second choice is yes, but it's a typical P2P. Third choice is yes, but we can use some creative ideas. Next is on the fence, and we're curious to learn more. And lastly, no, it hasn't been or currently isn't right for us. So let's see what those answers are. All right, getting some good responses coming in. All right, looks like we're slowing down. Give another couple seconds. All right, let's go ahead and close that poll, and let's take a look at those results. Kind of interesting to see. Looks like the majority of you are on the fence and curious to learn more. Have several of you who are looking for those creative ideas, and a good mix of the others here. So it's really interesting to see what everyone is up to with their peer-to-peer fundraising plans for 2021. Love to see these types of things. So whatever those plans may be, though, today's webinar will provide some additional ideas and strategies that you can use now or in the future. And as a reminder, we will be sending out the recording to all attendees afterwards. All right, so let's dive in. So if you can join me in welcoming Corey Blake to start us off by talking about the benefits of peer-to-peer fundraising for your nonprofit. Let me give you control, Corey. All right, you should have control, and over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Scott, and thanks everybody for showing up and participating in this. I'm great to see the poll results there. I love coming in with an open mind and just being intrigued to learn more about this. So that's a great place to be. I hope you'll see something that resonates with you and something that you can use. All these ideas that you're going to see, they're a great launching point. None of these should need to be replicated identically. You certainly could, I suppose, but your own organization has its own sort of style and flavor. And so as you'll see, particularly with the Mars Foundation, they really created something that's unique to them. But it should inspire you to see how you could use those ideas for yourself in your organization. But yeah, let's look at peer-to-peer, why it's so good. And it really is, it's all about those individual fundraisers, those ambassadors. They really do help bring in new donors, and that's kind of the key. It's really spreading a wider net. So finding these passionate ambassadors, bringing them in and getting them to engage with your organization and participate in a new way. And that's a big deal. You can have galas and all these sort of traditional fundraising events and campaigns, but this gives you an opportunity to not just say, hey, can you donate again to your most passionate supporters, but hey, can you donate, but can you also ask your friends and family to get involved and to bring them into the organization, help them learn about the good work we're doing. So it really does, it expands your reach, and they're going to be able to reach people you don't talk to. And so that's the key. And it brings in new donors, and it lets you engage with those new donors so that they could maybe become new fundraisers in the future and then reach out to their people. And so it just kind of rolls year over year if you continue it as a tradition. And of course, with new donors, you're going to be boosting your fundraising total. Now, obviously, as we said, you can use these for athletic events, these peer-to-peer campaigns. It's a great fit for walks and runs, whether virtual or in person or a hybrid. But it doesn't have to be limited to that. And so you're going to see a lot of ideas here that we'll cover. You can see these stats on the right here. Average individual fundraiser raises over $600. So when you're kind of putting together your campaign and figuring out your goal, that's a great way to kind of gauge it of, okay, well, if we have, let's say 20 fundraisers times 634 each, that gives you a sense of how much you can expect to raise and how much recruiting you should do to get those fundraisers. So yeah, we're going to be looking at a lot of these campaigns and the creativity that they have and the unique things they did, but they all, the common thing that they all did is these strategies. They really recruited fundraisers early so that when the campaign launched, there was already ambassadors in place. So when your organization starts sharing the campaign, people start landing on the page, they already see, oh, there's things are already happening. There's fundraisers already signed up. Maybe there's some money already raised, and it really gives this sense of this is a living, breathing campaign, and you should join in. And then obviously, as they sign up, it should be easy to sign up. It should be a short, simple form, and it should be easy for them to personalize the page that they get when they do sign up. And then it should be easy for that page to be shared. So they're going to want to share that campaign page that they've created, their personal fundraiser page, rather. They're going to want to be able to share it easily through multiple channels. So email, social media, text, whatever way that they usually communicate with their family, friends, and colleagues. That should be the channel that they use, or channels. It should be, and most likely will be, multiple channels. And so, yeah, it should be easy to share that page. And, these aren't professional fundraisers, so sometimes people get shy and people aren't sure what to say. So it's really good for you to give them language that they can use, and hopefully they'll personalize it. But it guides them to say, okay, if you're going to send an email, this is what you could say. Or if you're going to post on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, these are the things you could say. If you're going to send a text, giving them sort of these tools that they can use so that it's easy for them to just drop in. And it gives them too a sense of like, oh, okay, I should be asking more than once. I should be asking to different groups of people. It helps them to figure out how they're going to approach this if you're giving them these tools. And so just as the fundraiser should be doing multiple asks to their family and friends and colleagues, you also should be encouraging your fundraisers throughout the campaign. And that helps them remember, oh, that's right, I signed up for that, and I should be asking, and I should be posting and sharing that page. And it also helps them feel more connected to the campaign. They feel like, oh, this is a living, breathing campaign. I'm getting updates about how we're all doing, how much we've raised. Maybe they get a video of how the money that they're raising is helping. Things like that, just getting content from you to them, and then they could share that out to their friends and family. So you're, again, just giving them more tools to spread the word. And then finally, making sure that however donors want to give through the fundraisers page, that they can do that, whether it's texting in or giving by their credit or debit card, clicking on a link, they want to send a check, they want to walk up to the fundraiser's door and knock on the door and give them a $5 bill, however they want to pay and donate, they should be able to do that, and it should be captured and recorded on their individual page. So that's those are, obviously the what all of these campaigns that we're going to be talking about, all of them use those kinds of strategies to really elevate the campaign. You can be as creative as you want, but if it's not being sort of driven by these best practices, all that creativity is almost wasted. So you kind of need both of these things. You need that creativity to draw people in and to really engage people and bring in new fundraisers that maybe wouldn't have participated otherwise because it just didn't connect to them in an emotional way. And then you also need to be able to then shepherd those fundraisers through the campaign with those best practices. But let's look at these ideas and these creative campaigns. These are all MobileCause customers and clients and real campaigns that we've you'll see screenshots and things like that we took of their campaigns. And so, yeah, I think these are all fun and creative and imaginative, and I love them. I love these some of these I've never would have thought of. So it's great to bring in these kind of unique voices and perspectives. So the first one is the Good Shepherd Rehabilitation. They hold a gala in their rehabilitation center's garden every year. And they've always encouraged people to come dressing kind of creatively, wearing different footwear and things like that. They're not so much on the formality side of it, but more on just like, hey, come show your creativity by how you dress up. And so this past year, what they did was a pajama contest. And they encouraged people to dress up in their pajamas to watch the gala virtually. And so they used the crowdfunding here, the peer-to-peer rather, to get their contestants to sign up. So they say, okay, great, this is what we're doing. Dress up in your favorite PJs, sign up, and post a picture of your PJs and tell us about your connection to the organization, your story, things like that. And then they shared that, those contestants shared that out to their friends and family to say, hey, I'm doing this. Look how, look what I'm wearing. What do you think? Vote for me, that sort of thing. And so people would donate to vote. And so every donation would go toward each individual contestant. And then whoever raised the most and got the most votes, of course, got prizes. So it's a great way to not only is it a creative idea as a campaign, but it also lets the individual, the ambassadors, the contestants be creative as well. So that's a lot of fun for them, and a great way to get people that, again, maybe wouldn't have participated, but see this idea of a fun thing to do and maybe want to get involved. Next up, we have Advocates for Children. They did a holiday theme here, Christmas cookie competition. So this is really neat because they not only got, they partnered with local chefs, 6 local chefs, and they paired them with children from their children's shelter. So what I like about this is that it's including the beneficiaries. So when you donate, you're helping the shelter and you're helping these kids that are actually participating in the contest. And it also lets the chefs, who are the individual fundraisers and ambassadors, it lets the chefs connect with these kids. They worked for 2 weeks on developing the cookies, these kids aged 10 to 17. And so it lets them firsthand experience these kids and how the organization is helping them. And it creates this bond so that when the chefs then go out to their friends and family and their fans and things like that, they can really say in a kind of a unique way and in a very informed way, this is the work that this organization is doing. This kid that I worked with, it was amazing, and the cookie we came up together with is fantastic. You should vote for it. And so people could donate. $1 equals 1 vote. And the way they kind of determined the winner, they kind of did a split. They did 50% of the score based on voting, and then they also had a panel of judges who sampled the cookies and looked at the cookies based on the design and things like that. And so a fun way to really engage the community, both the beneficiaries and the supporters, as well as people getting to influence who wins. But there's also like an objective, I suppose, judges, I guess maybe aren't objective, but there's sort of a, outside of the money side of it, there's also the judges 50% weight to the score. So it's kind of a fun way to create this competition, a great like mix on that idea. Next, we have Cedar Crest College. So this is obviously a college. They do an alumni fundraising challenge every year. And so what they started to do, this was from last year, and we're actually working now on building this year's campaign. And they basically, this is a little different. They don't have individuals. What they do is they have decades of years of alumni, and then they have the individual years. So if I am, the class of, 1980, whatever, then I would have my page to go to and share that page out to my friends and family. Say, hey, I am, class of, let's say, 1982. We're trying to raise X number of dollars, and each goal was based on that year's previous record of how much they've raised years past. And so so there's a great way to really create competition between the years as well as the decades. And they awarded prizes based on both the decades, how each decade did, as well as how each year did. And they got this little engraved paver for the winning class. So whichever class won the absolute most of all, they got that, which is a cool way to incentivize, is to have prizes like that, whether they are physical actual prizes or they're digital badges or just bragging rights. There's all sorts of ways you can incentivize those fundraisers to really go out and go for it. As you can see, they raised over $100,000, so that was pretty good turnout. Next, we have Ben Richey Boys Ranch and Family Program. So they hold a music awards show every year. And this is obviously a campaign now. It's coming up. So this page is live now. And I actually looked at it right before we jumped on here. And they're actually now up to 124,000. So they're over halfway to their goal, which is fantastic. And so what they do is they hold basically this awards show. It's basically like a concert. And it's they have these singers in the community that compete. And so they have these 10 performers. Each performer gets their own fundraising page where they can introduce themselves, explain, why they are participating, and why people should vote for them. And so, yeah, basically, again, it's a voting kind of driven campaign, but you just make a donation by voting again. And there are prizes for the best singer and the top fundraiser. So again, kind of splitting the competition in a way so that there's a prize for the top donor, and then the performance itself gets its own particular special sort of assessment, and there's a winner on that level too. So there's kind of like there can be two winners. So again, we're kind of seeing these different ways that you can create competition and how to kind of slice and dice winners. And I think that's a really great way to approach it. So it's there should be an incentive to get donations, and then also if there is this sort of like performance aspect to it, that there can be a separate judgment on that, so that you can win in several ways. It's always fun. Let's see, we have now EasterSeals Oregon. So they do, again, this is an annual campaign, and this is a big fundraiser for them. They sell these tulip bouquets to celebrate spring, and they signed up. So basically, you can land on this page and you can just buy the tulips straight directly from the organization. But you could also sign up and offer to sell the tulips. And so they had team fundraisers, both as families and as local organizations and businesses. So it's a great sponsorship opportunity. So you can be a sponsor, or you can be a sponsor by helping us sell tulips, which helps us raise money. And so a great way to sort of diversify who is involved in these campaigns. And so they did have a hosted sort of day of, so of course this works virtually, people can share their page at any time, but they also did sort of this day of sale where they were in person selling tulips. And so it's a great way to kind of create this sense of urgency, like, hey, we need to do this by the campaign ends at this time, but also we have this day of sale. And so that's another sort of tent pole within the campaign where you really rally people to kind of activate their base. And so they use text reminders, which is a great tool. Again, that urgency, that sense of urgency. I get a text on my phone, say, don't forget, that sort of thing. Ended today. You need to sell. So that kind of thing really helps to engage these fundraisers to again remind them. People have busy lives. They sign up and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. It's really exciting. Then they get distracted, and they'll need to be pulled back to say, oh, that's right, I was doing that. I want to do that. I want to raise money. That organization means a lot to me. And they did great this year. They passed their goal. And you can also too, on the form, when you click purchase tulips, it's a form where you can select tulips to buy, but you can also add a donation on top or just donate. So again, leaving these options for people to interact with the campaign in various ways or give in various ways. So it's like, I don't need tulips. I don't know anybody who does, but I still want to help the organization. There's bound to be a few of those people. All right, next up we have the Boy Scouts of America Lincoln Heritage Council. So again, this is kind of, I guess item driven, where before we had tulips, Boy Scouts have what they call scout cards. So what they do is they go out into the community, they go to local businesses and say, hey, do you want to be on this scout card? And it's kind of like it's kind of like a coupon book or like a debit card kind of a thing, where basically you get these discounts to different businesses around town. And so it's a great fundraiser. So they, the organization says, yeah, we'll do that. We'll give anybody who has this card, you get 10% off, whatever in our store. And so they kind of compile all these businesses, and so they can then sell that card as a great sort of fundraising item. And so this is a great way to do this virtually. So of course they could do door to door as they've historically done, but this lets them kind of expand that reach. So you click that purchase Scout cards, and then you can pick the card of the area that you're in. There's different sort of counties and areas where the cards are focused, and so there's kind of like you pick your local card, and that gets you the ones that are gives you discounts for the businesses close to you. And then of course the Boy Scouts, the kids, they're going to want to they basically as fundraisers are getting their own page. They sign up, they go out into the community, say, I'm selling these cards. Do you want to buy one? Yes, great. And so they have their own keyword. Great, you can text deals 5 to the number 71777. That'll take you to my page where you can buy the card from me. Or they can just take a check, or things like that. But this lets them go out into the community and have a fast way to sell the cards. It's great kind of engagement. And they promote it on Facebook, so it's a great way to kind of encourage that friendly competition. All these campaigns, of course, when you look at these tabs here, you click on fundraisers, or however it's labeled, but you basically see everybody that is signed up, and you can see who has raised more and who has raised less. And so it's a great way to encourage that kind of community competition. And so they used Facebook in a really creative way to kind of call out people and say, hey, this person's doing great. Everybody else, you better step up, that sort of thing. It's a really fun way to again, kind of remind fundraisers, hey, this campaign's going on, and you said you're going to do it. So this is a kind of a friendly reminder to get in there. Catskill Animal Sanctuary. I love this campaign. I worked on this one. The Goat Games is another one. They're doing it again this year, and they're making some changes this year. But last year, the way they did it is, so this is very much like a athletic campaign. So this is kind of a virtual campaign, but you can kind of basically move however you want. So it's not like a mile, it's not sort of a, hey, you got to run so many miles, that sort of thing. It's basically you have these activities and you have to do them. So you can sign up as a hiking, biking, running, swimming, and then there's also a sort of, you choose, do whatever. And what they did is they made each category of activity a team. So you would sign up under the team of the activity you're doing, and they kind of branded each activity with a mascot of one of their goats. And so this is a great way to highlight they're obviously an animal sanctuary. They specialize in farm animals, and so this lets them highlight some of essentially their beneficiaries. I mean, that's basically what the animals are. And so again, a great way to kind of pull at the heartstrings and really and engage with people, to say, hey, if you want to be on Team Alice, then you're going to be running. And so you sign up with your page and you share that page, say, hey, I'm supporting the Catskill Animal Sanctuary, and you can donate and support me, and it'll go towards Alice and all the other animals that are in the sanctuary. So great fun way to really anytime you can kind of thematically immerse your organization's mission throughout the campaign like this. Fantastic. And of course, kids and animals, if you can get those in there, that's fantastic. It's not always not always easy to do, depending on your organization's mission, but it certainly helps. Like with the Oregon Zoo. So I'm just going to run through. We got these 3 and 3 more. These are just brief little things here I wanted to highlight. They did a baby shower, adorable red panda baby shower. And so again, just kind of thematically labeling something in a way can really help to engage people and get them involved. So you could just come and donate to give to the shower, or you could sign up as a fundraiser and spread the word. Westford Friends of East Boston Camps, they did a walk. So this is a little more straightforward, kind of the virtual walk. I think it was virtual this year or this past year. And but what they did that was different and unique was that when you donated to support somebody who was walking, you could just give a straight donation, but you could also donate based on how many miles had been walked or how many trails they had hiked. So they do the walk in this sort of park, this hiking grounds sort of area, and that's where the walk happens. And so they basically held it over the month of I think it was April, I think. And so you basically had to walk so many miles or so many trails over a month long. And once you do that, then people could donate based on how much you did, or they could just donate any amount. And then Friends of Children's Hospital Over the Edge. So this is a little more exciting than I would participate in, but it's a great way for somebody who wants to rappel off a building. I think it was 20 stories, and they rappelled off the side of the building. So it's basically a variation on a walk or run. It's just they're rappelling instead of walking and running. And so they called them edgers. And so they would sign up. And what they did is they said there's only 92 spots available. So if you want to do this, then you got to sign up as a fundraiser, and the top 92 fundraisers get to rappel. So that gives a real incentive, like, hey, well, I want to do it. And so they'll sign up, they share their page and raise money, and then they get to do the thing. They get to jump off the side of a building, which it's a great incentive if that's what you're into. So next, No Dogs Left Behind, great campaign, Bring Them Home. So again, they used the dogs. This is a rescue organization. And so they had these dogs that they'd rescued, and they had the pictures and names of each dog as fundraisers, or fundraiser teams rather. So kind of like the animal sanctuary that I showed you, where the goat is the team. Same thing, a dog and their name and their story. The team page had their story and how they were rescued. And then if you connect with a certain dog, you could join their team and be an individual fundraiser under that team. Advocates for Children, again, with a very creative campaign. Gourmet Graze and Raise. This is another one where they teamed up with chefs, another kind of cooking competition. And so very similar they to the other one we talked about, where they had chefs come in, they prepared a dish, they did like a sample dish, and then those of course were judged on, but they also of course raised money as chefs. They shared their page out to get votes based on their dish. And then last is Safe Haven. They did Dancing with the Stars, Dancing with Statesboro Stars. Dancing with the Stars, this is a TV show that's been running on 12 plus years at this point, I guess. And so this has become a really kind of popular fundraising tool where local communities do their own version of Dancing with the Stars. They pair people up, and they will have their fundraising page created as a duo. So they'll have it's kind of their own individual page, but it's the pair of them together. And they're saying, we're dancing together, vote for us, donate to help support us. And then of course they have the actual live competition where they dance, and people watching during the live competition vote, very much like kind of American Idol. If you want duo number one to win, text dance 1 to 71777, and then they get to go to their page and donate and vote. So a really fun way to engage and get that texting really utilized to get the kind of the immediacy of voting and that sort of thing. And again, a competition. So I hope some of those resonated with you. Again, these are all ideas that should I hope inspire you to create your own. These hopefully are springboards for you to create the kind of campaign you want to run that fits the kind of style and voice of your organization. So with that, I will pass it back to Scott, I believe.
All right, thank you, Corey, for sharing such great insight into using peer-to-peer creatively. Now, as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, you can submit them into the question box on your control panel as we go along, and we'll be sending the recording to attendees within the next 24 hours. So now we'll hear from Wyatt Lee with the Mars Planet Foundation and how they set up, promoted, and executed their creative peer-to-peer campaign. Wyatt?
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me on your webinar today, and happy to share some of the ideas and the creative juices or workflow that we put together to kind of put together our campaign utilizing the MobileCause platform. So a little bit about our organization. We are a community-based nonprofit educational foundation. We're dedicated to really enriching, enhancing, and supporting all of our students and our teachers within our school district, the Mars area school district. We do that through providing teacher grants. A lot of teachers throughout the course of the year will come up with some pretty unique, creative ideas of how they want to be able to expand, their students' learning horizons. So they come up with these ideas, and these aren't things that are going to be in any budget that's been prepared. So they want to reach out to an organization like ours to be able to help them bring their ideas to life and provide some funding so they're able to, purchase that equipment or programs to bring in for their learning enhancements. We also provide scholarships. We either steward or hand out 16 scholarships at this point. And we also do some special projects that might come out throughout the year. All of this comes through our fundraising efforts, which were a little bit hampered last year due to COVID-19. Like so many of us, we kind of had to stop what we normally did, and we normally had a golf outing campaign, or a golf outing, I should say, that typically we would raise anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, and with not being able to hold that event, we had to kind of find a creative way to raise money. We really don't want to stop being able to provide funding to our students and our teachers for those programs that we work with. So we had to try to think of ways to kind of do that, right? So I found the MobileCause platform right around the time we started to collaborate and brainstorm some of the things that we wanted to do. And one of the ideas that came up was a virtual walk. That seems to be a pretty big fundraising type of thing that's popped up recently. So we looked at the MobileCause platform and found some great things that it would allow us to do in terms of being able to put our program together and kind of use some of our creativity to really get the community involved, get the members of our board involved, get the students involved, the teachers involved, a lot of the businesses involved. We really wanted to try to get everyone involved into what we were looking to do. So we made this not a one-day sort of event. We kind of stretched it out over 6 weeks because we had some really cool ideas that we wanted to incorporate, and we wanted to utilize this as an opportunity to get more people out and about and involved in our town, walking around, maybe going to different areas they hadn't been to before. So our goals are twofold. One, to walk around our town, and then two, also to walk around the circumference of the planet of Mars, which is 13,265 miles. So we kind of laid out some ideas. We wanted around 500 people, and if we had 500 people that would join us, if everyone walked 26.5 miles over that 6-week period, we would be able to walk around the circumference of Mars. So that's kind of our two goals that we started out for, and we had a lot of fun kind of walking around town and trying to hit those mile numbers. Our initial goal that we laid out, since this is our first dive into a virtual campaign, we kind of kept it kind of low at $25,000, just kind of see how things would play out with with this process. Again, it was something completely new for us, our first dive into a virtual product or a virtual event. So we wanted to see how things would play out from that perspective. When we set up our event, we looked to have both peer-to-peer fundraising components as well as team components. We kind of broke it down a little bit further. We actually had each of the schools sign up as teams. We had a lot of the local businesses sign up as teams. We had different groups in the community sign up as different teams. So it became a little bit competitive on that side, which is kind of what we were going for. We set up some default donation options. One of the great things I like about the MobileCause platform is being able to set it up so you can get some recurring monthly donations. That was a big plus for us, and seeing some of the numbers that are out there of the incremental growth in your fundraising efforts because of that was something that was very, very appealing to us. And we did make some incremental growth in our fundraising efforts based on that. Another important or key component is the option to pay the processing fees. It's really just a click of a tab in the platform, and all of our participants, except for maybe 2, pretty much paid for the processing fee. So that's great. That's money that doesn't come out of our fundraising efforts to pay for these credit card fees. These are things that our participants were willing to click off on. It was awesome. We set up a different form altogether to be able to track those miles of being able to walk around the planet Mars, a completely different form. But I also sent out reminders for folks to text in their miles so that we can kind of work our way towards that goal. But that was a pretty easy and straightforward thing to do with the platform as well. Corey told me it was a nice creative use of it as well. We also targeted our community businesses and bring them on board as sponsors. We had a variety of different levels of sponsorship, from an event sponsor all the way down to a t-shirt sponsor. We had a bunch of different levels that they could sign up with based on how much they wanted to donate to the cause. From a promotion perspective, we tried to utilize all of our tools in our toolbox here, being Facebook as the main proponent of it. We also dabbled a little bit in Twitter and Instagram, but between Facebook and our normal website, we kind of pushed out quite a bit of interest in our event. When we were going through the registration process, we utilized a tool inside of MobileCause to create a QR code for the event that made it great to go around to the local businesses and be able to, just hand them a card with a QR code on there so they can easily make their donation right there on the spot in front of us as we were signing them up to be a sponsor. We also utilized the texting component of the MobileCause app quite a bit, being able to send out reminder messages, getting people involved, reminding them of the different weekly challenges that we had coming up, reminding them of being able to input their miles so we can track their miles. I even sent out a little conversion calculator because in the beginning, a lot of people were putting in the number of steps as opposed to miles. And so we easily crushed the mile mark after our first couple of days with people entering, thousands and thousands of steps. So we had to put a little reminder out there for them to kind of make some computations to change those steps to miles. To the fun part of what we came up with and some of the creativity that our whole board was involved with is trying to keep people engaged for that 6-week process. We decided we wanted to come up with a variety of different themes, weekly themes, from a crazy costume week. We got a bunch of businesses involved to provide prizes for all of these different theme weeks. The crazy costume week was a big hit. A lot of different people out and about in the community with some crazy costumes on in the middle of March. It was kind of fun to see that. Probably the biggest hit here was the Find Marty the Martian week. Yes, we named our mascot there Marty the Martian. We provided Marty to any of the businesses who wanted to be involved in this Find Marty week. We provided them with a little blow up Martian. They either put that in their windows of their businesses or had them located inside somewhere that people would have to actually come into the store to try to find Marty. So, our original goal to get businesses involved is trying to drive people to those stores and businesses so that they could reap some of the benefits for donating to the cause. And it was definitely a big push. We had a ton of submissions and photos from folks out and about in the community looking for Marty, taking some pictures and sharing their images on social media for us. Another theme week was Show Us Where Spring Has Sprung week. Just basically going out, sharing some pictures of, beautiful flowers, some of the beautiful cherry trees, all the different fun things that people might be out and about doing that once spring has hit. Some of us on our board painted a bunch of small little rocks with some images of Marty and some springtime images and hid them all around town and some different developments and parks and stuff, so people can go out and try to find those little rocks and again share those photos with us as well. We also wanted to highlight some alumni. Our thinking here with highlighting the alumni is to kind of showcase some of our graduates, excuse me, and maybe talk about some of the things that they're doing now that they've left the Mars High School. What are they doing now? Are they still in college? Are they out and about? Have they started their careers yet? Where have they found themselves migrating to? So we had lots of different submissions from some of our alumni from all over the country, sharing, their stories with us and with the community. Hopefully by highlighting them, we're garnering a little bit of goodwill here with the alumni, because ultimately we want the alumni to be able to do some donating to the cause. Maybe not today, but somewhere down the road, we want to be able to dip into their pockets a little bit and have them donate to the cause as well. So we're trying to put forth a little goodwill and highlighting some of their efforts that they've been up to since leaving the school. Excuse me. So our results, we raised directly from the platform over $36,000 from our 33 donors. We had 186 people who signed up to be peer-to-peer fundraisers. We had an additional 4,000 from some other donations to the organization that weren't done actually through the platform. So roughly about 40K that we've garnered from our fundraising efforts. And again, we started with our goal of 25,000 and pretty significantly surpassed that, mainly because we got a lot of support from our local community, our local businesses, with being able to raise over 21,000 based on a lot of sponsorships. We had quite a few people who wanted to be on our t-shirts. We were throwing sponsorships out for 500 a block, and we had about 12 or 15 companies that ended up being on the back of our shirts as t-shirt sponsors. So it was a great community effort all around, and these will be shirts and things that are going to be talked about probably over the next year till we have our next campaign that rolls out from this perspective. Providing this type of campaign and getting the community involved really increased our presence quite a bit through Facebook. We had a lot of traffic to our normal website, a significant increase. We had a significant increase in the number of likes and shares of our photos, and just a lot of overall great presence with being able to provide this type of campaign for the community. And overall, I think it was a great success. Love being able to have this platform. It's so many different things that you can utilize with this tool. And these are just examples that are pretty much just scratching the surface. We haven't 100% decided if this is an event we're going to do every year, if we're going to do it every other year. But for me, I think it is something we need to do every year because the amount of money, the amount of interest that we garnered was pretty significant. We're just toying with whether or not we want to have a walk one year and the golf outing another year, et cetera. So we're trying to nail down some options there. And then we're also going to try to maybe do some higher sponsorship levels because we probably could have made even more money with some higher levels. There's that much interest in our community for supporting our students and teachers. And that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for joining.
All right. Hey, thank you, Wyatt, for sharing your expertise with us today. And I know these strategies and tools are going to help a lot of nonprofits run their own successful peer-to-peer campaigns. And thank you again to both Corey and to Wyatt for sharing your know-how with everyone here. Oops. Give me a sec here. So before we get into our Q&A, I do have one other poll question for you, and that question is, are you interested in learning more? So let me go ahead and launch that poll here. We just want to do this one really quickly here, so get our responses in. Okay, looks like we're getting some numbers going. All right. Another couple seconds. Looks like we're slowing down. All right. All right. So we'll go ahead and close that poll. So let's get into our live Q&A where we answer some of the very important questions that you've already sent us about peer-to-peer campaigns. So please feel free to submit additional questions, any others as we go along. Okay, so our first question comes from Marina for Corey. And the question is, do you have any examples of peer-to-peer campaigns wherein the goals weren't monetary, but instead focused on donor growth? Is that even remotely interesting or effective? For example, X number of donors in X number of days.
The one that immediately comes to mind is there's a Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. They just recently did a giving day, and they used peer-to-peer and had their goal as like a donor count, like how many gifts they got. I think just framing it, I wouldn't frame it as I would say we're trying to get X number of gifts. I'd probably frame it that way. So just finding a way to present it as a rather than we want so many donors, or donor growth as a term, I guess, is a little cold for actual donors. And so I think, you just want to frame it as a we want to get so many gifts over the month or however long the campaign is running. I've seen that with a couple other schools too, the more I'm thinking about it. And I think that's absolutely a viable way to go if you don't have a dollar goal to push.
All right, great. So next question here is from Rebecca for Wyatt. And the question is, how do you handle various sponsorship levels for an event like this? What do folks get at various levels in a virtual world?
That's a great question. We tried to, since it was virtual, we tried to utilize our social media presence the most. At different levels, you got more mentions. So if you were the event sponsor, obviously we had them at the top of our page, their logos out there. We made probably 10 mentions on social media. They also had a very large logo on the back of the sponsor T-shirt. So the different sponsor levels, they had different amounts of mentions that we would make via social media. We tried to drive traffic to all of those businesses that were in the Find Marty campaign. So we did a lot of things to try to drive traffic, provide some social media presence. We can kind of gauge the effectiveness based on the number of likes and shares and comments and things like that of those posts. So that's kind of how we did it. I mean, there's not really a lot more that we could have done from that perspective, but the businesses in the community were more than willing to jump on and support our efforts.
That's great. All right. I have another question for you, Wyatt. For this one comes from Janet. How much did it cost to run the Walk Around Mars campaign?
Our only costs really were t-shirts, which the amount of sponsors that we got more than covered the cost of our t-shirts. Actually, we were able to cover our swag bags that we ordered as well with the amount of t-shirt sponsors that we got. Anything t-shirt sponsors pretty much covered the entire cost of the shirts and the bags. So whatever we show minus probably $5,000 is pretty much what we're netting from this event.
All right, great. All right, so this next question is actually for both Corey and Wyatt, and the question is: being new to peer-to-peer fundraising, what are the top 2 things to avoid when doing the campaigns? Corey, start with you here.
Sure, yeah. I would say 2 things that immediately come to mind is to give yourself enough lead time. Like give yourself a good ramp up to the campaign so that you can talk about it. It's coming. You can prepare. You can recruit people. You can get them onboarded, and then you can launch the campaign. So yeah, just giving yourself that freedom to really roll it out and have it launch with that breathing space. And then second, I would say is to not, I think organizations sometimes get a little shy and worried about over communicating. Wyatt, ran such a fantastic and robust campaign, and they constantly were using communication to remind people that it was going on, that the whole thing was happening, and here's this aspect, here's that aspect, and really focused in how they communicated about it. So I would say map out your communication plan, and people tend to worry about going too overboard, and social media algorithms are going to work against you anyway. So go a little over and don't worry about it, because it'll take care of itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Those are all important points, but also make sure that you have plenty of people involved on your team to kind of take on different types of responsibilities for what you're looking to put together. I mean, we had a group of people who just did donations for our swag bag. We had a couple people who just went out and hammered on the businesses to get the sponsorships. We had a different group of people that worked on the theme weeks. We had a bunch of different people that would post on social media throughout the campaign. And it wasn't just me, it was a whole team or a whole crew of people that you're going to need to kind of make it a successful event. I don't have anything not to do, because this was our first one as well, and we'll probably have a little powwow after this to kind of see what kind of adjustments we need to make going forward. But it was great.
All right, great. All right, so this next question is for Corey, and this comes from Michael. Since things are beginning to open back up for in-person events, can you give an example of how a peer-to-peer fundraiser might be utilized for a live event fundraiser?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're actually starting to see this just the beginning of sort of hybrid events. This is just starting to see these come up. And there's tons of ways, but if you do a hybrid, I think is a great way to give the live component that has historically been done, as well as this kind of virtual side of it too. So if people register, they can register and register to do the in-person or the live, which would mean that they would experience the live event either in person or through a live stream. If you didn't want to do a hybrid, you just strictly just all in for live, that's great too. And we've seen where there are table captains, that the fundraisers are table captains and they are selling tables to attend. Although that could be done virtually as well. I've seen that. And then for like walks and runs and things like that. I mean Wyatt's event, that was all in person. I mean those were obviously they took precautions for space and things like that, but because it's outdoors, if it's an athletic event, you certainly can do that. Dancing with the Stars is very much in person, where people show up, they watch the dancers dance, and then they vote live. That's a great way to do that. The chef contests as well that we talked about a little bit. Those are great. You can have the meals. That's another one where you could kind of do it hybrid, because you can watch virtually or show up and watch it live in person and watch the tasting happen. So yeah, lots of ideas. Definitely a lot possible there. I think most of the examples we went through probably could be done virtually or live.
Okay. I want to try to squeeze one more. Actually, no, it looks like we are at the top of the hour. So I will say now we've come to the conclusion of our Q&A. So before we leave, if you're interested in discovering how MobileCause can help maximize your fundraising efforts, please fill out our post-webinar survey. And also, be aware, next week we will be unveiling a playbook on how to set up a peer-to-peer campaign. So keep an eye out for the email from MobileCause to download that for free. So again, thank you again for attending today, and best of luck in running your own successful peer-to-peer campaign. Goodbye, and see you again next month for another inspiring and informative presentation. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.